Hello everybody, welcome back. It's been a while. So I had stopped doing this for a while, unfortunately. I just thought there were some other things I wanted to do and this didn't really take priority, but I've decided that I want to, even though it's not going super well right now, not a lot of people watching, I just want to get my voice out there, get my thoughts out there, etc., and maybe actually grow this channel into something worthy, or whatever you want to call it anyway. So I'm just going to do a... Sorry guys, jeez, wow. I just want to do a standard video here, screening my stock watch list, so... Okay. Anyway, so these here are the top 100 stocks in the market in terms of liquidity, and that's what we're going to be reviewing. I find it very much helps to keep my circle of competency, so to speak, very small, especially because I work full-time and can't screen the whole entire market on a regular basis. Some good news, if you notice in TradingView, they actually put in this price times average volume 30 days indicator, so you can sort by liquidity now, and I don't think that was because of me, but I did request that, so maybe it's because of me, who knows. But either way, it's a really good upgrade by TradingView. So let's start with Tesla here. We can see here that this one reports tomorrow night, so it's definitely a stay away, but it does kind of set up like, if it does do well in earnings, it could have a little bit of a run. Of course, you have to contend with this very bearish sell-off here, but that being said, this one could really go either way, so just going to watch what happens with this one. I'm just going to check that I'm recording. I think I'm recording. Yeah, okay. Just making sure I don't mess this up, because that'd be super annoying. And then NVIDIA, this one hugging the 50-day, definitely don't want to see that crack. And Apple starting to come alive here. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at this thing on a long-term basis, sure, it's kind of been a laggard. It hasn't been racing upwards, but it's been very steady. So, people kind of look at this one as, I guess, a Mag 7 that's falling behind, but if you look at the long-term prospects, it's still very good. I do get kind of salty that these Mag 7 stocks just never can seem to be defeated. It seems like they're never going to crack, which I don't think is great for the rest of everyone else, but it is what it is. So this one, I'll watch it, but earnings are coming up fairly soon, so... And then we have AMD. This one definitely showing a lot of strength relative to other semiconductor names. The whole circular deal thing, I know that's definitely not like something you love to hear if you care about fundamentals, but I mean, if the market wants to push the stock higher, then so be it. This one, I don't think it looks like a great spot to get in. It's kind of wedging upwards, but it is getting tighter, so just keep our eye on it. Amazon did come alive, but still stuck under the 50. Oracle coming down to its 50, another one of these circular deal type stocks. In Palantir, this one, to me this looks like distribution, just in the way that we've had some very high-powered selling days. That being said, that happens frequently in the stock. You can look at this run that had some very high-powered sell-off days, and it still continued to work its way higher. So this one, it could probably break either way. You can see earnings not too far into the distance, but that's just kind of where we are. It's earnings season, so probably not, for me personally, the way I trade, the best time to be getting into names, but maybe I'll try to do a little something here or there. And I should note, I've been doing more pyramiding into positions recently, so starting with a quarter position, moving to a half position if it works, all the way to a full position, and that's been very helpful for me, especially in this time when the market, in my opinion, has just been kind of rudderless. It's just kind of been aimless for these past few weeks. Meta stuck underneath the 50. Broadcom, this one still looks pretty good to me. But yeah, just kind of consolidating, and you can see their earnings a lot further out. And then on the hourly chart, it doesn't look especially great. It did have this gap up here, but then it falls back underneath this 50-hour line. So I like to see the stock reclaim the 50-hour line and hopefully make a move higher once it gets above it. That's what I like to see. And then Google, this one was looking bad today, but it actually ended up being a bit of a shakeout, which has it looking quite nice ahead of earnings. And then APP coming down to its 50-day line, retesting the high of this blow-off top and this gap area. So it could be a possible spot for it to turn around, but you definitely do not like to see the amount of selling that we've had here. This looks very, very poor. And again, if you look at the hourly chart, you can see this one trending below the 50-hour line. I like to see it, pop up above on some sort of strength and then bounce off. So this one's still not close to ready. And Robinhood, this one I took a trade, I think, on this day. I think I finally scaled into a full position up here. And then on Friday, I just booted it on this terrible Friday. I booted it because it was falling apart. I booted all my positions on that Friday. And I think I kind of ended up going even on all these new buys I had. But considering how the market was acting on that day, I don't think that going even's that bad. I think that was a victory to not lose money during that period. But this one, it feels like it's been falling apart, but realistically, it's still well above its 50-day, so still being a leader in this market. And speaking of leaders, we have Micron still trending above its 10, which is really amazing. This one just doesn't seem to want to give us, a great pullback for an entry, unfortunately. I still am not very happy at myself for selling it off of, I think it was this day, but, you would have had to hold in earnings anyway, so probably wouldn't have been able to hold on anyway. Intel, this one, it's definitely come back to life. I want to take a look at the EPS here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, everybody. So yeah, just not very good earnings going on here. No really growth or anything like that. So this one, probably just kind of a hype, the US investment type thing. But anyway, they have earnings coming up, so we'll see how that does for them. This one, it does actually look kind of good, but it's just probably not a name I want to get involved in. But I'll see what happens. And then you can see a lot of these more speculative names without the earnings are falling apart. That's usually a portent of a broader pullback to come, in my opinion. But not necessarily. It's just this quantum theme's getting hit. You'll see some other speculative names have been taking it on the chin recently. And then CoreWeave here, this one coming down to its 50 already. I said that I kind of wanted to see it get above this area to try it, so I did try it on this day back here. Got out really quickly. It was just a quarter position buy, I do believe. And now that we've come back down to this 50, if we can bounce here and see this 50-day line start to turn back up, then I think it might be time to start adding exposure back into this name. In Netflix, this one, it looks good. This one was down much further just not long ago, so no telling what's going to happen here. Obviously, the knee-jerk reaction is that earnings were not very good. The chart looks really amazing, but news and earnings, that is what determines which way things move, so we will have to see what the market wants to do with this one tomorrow. And MicroStrategy just very obviously trending below this 50-day line, even weaker than Bitcoin itself, so not a good play. Alibaba looking like it might be making a lower high. It just seems like we haven't had like great trending moves recently. Seems like things kind of like just sit there and then they'll rush up and then they'll sit there and they'll rush up. So, I mean, you kind of have to be a little bit fast on the trigger, it seems like. And Oklo, another speculative name that's taking hits right now, but I will watch it. So yeah, it's not ready, but sometimes you just want to keep track of these type of companies and these type of names. In Coinbase, you can see this one showing relative strength to Bitcoin, I would say. So is it going to hold the 50? That's a good question. We'll have to see. But this one probably the best looking Bitcoin name in these high liquidity areas. In Eli Lilly, this one doesn't look too bad. I'm not a big believer in the weight loss drugs, but I know they have a good suite of drugs that they have, so certainly this was a good sign. It's kind of pulled back a little bit, but maybe if we can break that high, this one could be back in play, though you always do want to know what the news is and what the reason that some of these more biotechy medical names are moving. The BMNR, this is just something that I can't be in. I wanted to maybe start trading faster names, but I just realized that if you're not 100% locked in, you're going to take some humongous losses on these, so I'm not going to mess around with it. In INQ, just more quantum carnage there. And Salesforce, you can see this one maybe starting to pop its head up, but a lot of work to do. And Iron, this one let me see what their earnings are. So this one actually has very nice earnings, so this one I wouldn't consider to be a speculative name, this one earning money. So this one may be a little bit of a better one to take note of than some of the others. This could be a potential one to start getting in on. On the last run it had, it wasn't liquid enough to really be pulling into my scans, but now we see it loud and clear. And, let's be watching this one for potential consolidation, a little bit of repair, and then maybe a move higher, but it does look like it is going to continue to pull back for now. Nebius Group, this one's pulling back as well. And SoFi, this one, it just really seemed like it was running a little too hot, but its pullback has been pretty orderly. It's just been kind of maintaining this 50-day line, so this one looking quite good. Obviously, earnings are going to determine which way it wants to go. That being said, it's definitely one to stay watching. And then HIMS, this one. Oh man, that's just not a pretty chart to look at, I have to say. GEV, this one has earnings tomorrow morning, so that's going to be pretty exciting to see which way this power stuff goes. In terms of a fundamental approach, I'm actually a pretty big believer in the power theme. I think that it's a money printing business. That being said, this one looks like it's starting to roll over, but of course earnings can change that on the drop of a hat, so definitely going to be watching this one closely to see exactly what happens, because it's just a name that I really like, but I'm certainly not showing very well right this minute. And Walmart, this one I did get a small gain on earlier, but I bungled the core weave trade, so I sold both of them because I don't want to be losing money in this environment right now. But this one had this nice long base, kind of had this breakout. Now it's kind of drifting down towards these moving averages. I think that if we're going to have a more high inflation environment, which it looks like we are, then perhaps Walmart could be, I don't think that people are going to stop shopping at Walmart. So this one could be a good safety play. It's certainly had a long time to get the selling out of it, so I'm going to be watching this one carefully as a potential safety play or core position type play. And then circle this one, very intriguing as an IPO. Not quite ready yet, but still just watching this one by its 50. And you can see some of these safety plays have been working, so not a great sign for the market, though we haven't really necessarily been losing a lot of the semis per se. And then we have Lamb here, this one with the Wednesday night earnings. And Goldman, you'll see this with a couple of banks we look at. These things are just kind of pulling back towards their 50. And it's probably not a terrible spot to buy if you just want something a little steadier. And SMCI, this one looking kind of like HIMS. And this thing has really fallen down the liquidity tree. Like, I feel like it used to show up a lot higher in my scans, but you can see volume has been down on a regular basis. Caterpillar, this one here, I kind of wish I would have bought this one around here because I was talking about how good it looked, but talking ain't worth a whole lot. So this one, yeah, I mean, it's a nice looking stock. It's not techie, so. And then Rocket Lab, this was a very messy base that it came out of. And then you see just, it looks like very evident selling up here. Now, does that mean that we can't go higher? Of course not, but I don't really know. It just doesn't look good to me. Like, every time you get up here, you get turned back in a big way. Like, this one had huge volume on this pullback or whatever you want to call it, on this rejection. And it is riding the 10-day, but I don't think that's going to save it. That being said, this is a newsy stock. This is a momentum stock, so it's still a leader. In CrowdStrike, this looks incredibly good, actually. I really like what I'm seeing out of some of these cybersecurity names. That being said, if the whole market's not going to work, then this certainly won't, but I can definitely see myself buying starting a position in this one if it starts to move higher. MP Materials, this is another very newsy sector here. You can see this one kind of looking like a failed breakout. As long as it maintains kind of this consolidation area, I don't think you can be calling it a breakout precisely, but a lot of times you'll see these kind of come back into the range and then break down completely. So we're just going to have to see what happens with this one. Certainly it's not an easy one to be trading. But yeah, I mean, just use your hourly chart. You can see clearly that this one is not on the right side of things. Then AbbVie, this one looks quite good. It's kind of similar to Eli Lilly and how you want to handle it. But this one looking quite good. And then Citigroup, this is a very similar look to Goldman, just pulling back to that 50-day line. So its earnings day, it actually had a really nice reaction. So maybe one that we might partake in. If it gets going again and then A-Lab cracks the 50 hard. Arista just Arista just clinging onto his 50-day. Not looking great after this Friday. I think that was the Friday. Nope, that was actually on Monday, so still not looking very good. And then Reddit just kind of hanging out underneath this 50. I know the common knowledge is if something stays tight under the 50, then reclaims it, then you do want to be looking for that as an entry, a potential place to start buying it. That being said, I wouldn't really say this is tight underneath the 50. I can definitely see this one rejecting, and I think the earnings are definitely going to be a pretty big deal. Now this one, I think it does have good earnings. So yeah, this one has really spectacular earnings growth. So I don't really know why this one isn't loved by the market. I feel like if there's one that can really, maybe not be like the next Facebook or whatever, but just kind of be a really nice liquid institutional leader type stock, I feel like Reddit could be that. It's got the earnings, it's a very popular high traffic site, but that being said, the market just doesn't love that. Maybe it's discounting the fact that AI just takes from Reddit, but I feel like don't you think that Reddit's probably monetizing that somehow? I don't know. Anyway, I like the fundamental story of Reddit. I can see why it might be a risky play to put your money in long term. That being said, the technicals just aren't very good right now, so we'll have to see what happens. And then Bloom Energy, this one is not anywhere near buyable right now. But this one, I do believe it's another one that's not just speculative. I believe it's making money, which it is. So similar to Iran, this is one where it wasn't coming on our scan because it wasn't liquid enough. Now it is. Now we're going to start paying attention to this one, and this one could definitely be a continued leader, especially with those great fundamental numbers. And Cisco actually looks pretty good. Mara's just a little too chaotic for me. Let's see if you can even make something out of the hourly chart. The hourly chart's slightly less chaotic. I feel like the hourly chart does the best job of capturing trends, in my opinion. Especially for like a swing trader or a medium-term trader. But even the hourly chart on Mara looks pretty crappy. Then Shopify, I did sell my position in this. I took a quarter position as we started coming up. And then it started to reverse today. And I had another position that was reversing on me, so I just got out of both of them. And here's the position that reversed on me completely today. I had to get out of it. It was only a quarter position, so no harm, no foul. But GE Aerospace here, not a very good look. It had a nice little consolidation going on here. It was riding the 50 quite nicely. I thought that this might be a good spot to get in on it and continue the trend, but just completely pushed back down. So it hasn't violated the lows of that day, so it could potentially still start moving again. Maybe this was just getting out over its skis. Maybe it will start moving again, but definitely not a good look for GE Aerospace. In VRT, this one actually looks really good going into earnings. PDD, this one looks pretty good. So I don't really know what they do. Oh, sorry, everybody. All three of you, I'm so sorry. Okay. Not very exciting. And this one looks really good. This was a really nice technical setup, this flag here. I just didn't feel like I knew enough about why this was doing this. I thought it might be acquisition related, and I think it might be. So that just to me is a little bit tricky, and I don't want to be on the wrong end of that, so I didn't really even try this one. Plus it would have been a huge gap situation, so pretty tough. And this one, Dell looks quite good as well. And this one actually coming out of a longer base here, so potentially one to be watching. Western Digital, it was looking like it got ugly, but this one looking orderly. Big shakeout on Philip Morris there. And then Coca-Cola, this one coming up. So staples are working right now. And, you know, that's not necessarily a bad reflection on the consumer. Like, people are still buying their snacks. But when do they not buy their snacks, right? And this one, Palo Alto, looks decent. I've been brightening on the cybersecurity sector. Now here we have a very nice earning gap. If this one can hold up this earnings gap, then that's going to be a shot across the bow that this one could be back in play as a potential runner. Now we can see that it moved faster than I thought. So you would have, I don't know, you could have made like 25-30% in a matter of months back there. So this one can move, but certainly I'm not going to be chasing this gap up. I just kind of am curious to see what happens with it. And then you can see this is the largest gold miner. I'm kind of upset that I missed out on this big move in gold, but none of the stocks were liquid enough to hit my screen until the very end here. So this one looks like it's going to be a little bit of a pullback. I think gold is still a good long-term asset, but probably needs to rest. So this one not going to be in there, and that's going to be all of the stocks. So I did go a little bit crazy, 33 stocks on the watch list, but honestly that's not really that hard to keep track of. I'm probably not going to be very interested in buying many of these just because of the state of the market that we're in. It's been kind of listless. Might just try a few quarter positions here and there until something works. So that's going to be it for tonight, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one, so thank you.